Let's get this on. Corporato here. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, leave a comment if you really want to be on my good side. Well, I'm hearing a lot about the topic of when we should open up, from schools to the economy. Just when should things open back up? It's simple. World Health Organization just came out and said the same thing I've been saying for months. I didn't say it on the channel. I didn't do it for a reason. Mostly because I wanted to stay out of that topic generally. However, now that the World Health Organization has already come out and said what I've been arguing for months privately, I'm going to just come out and say it. We should be open up now. The lockdowns do not serve the purpose as originally stated. The original stated purpose of the lockdown was to make sure we didn't overrun the healthcare system. Okay, never happened. Since the healthcare system was never overrun, we needed to open back up. Since the beginning of all this, we've had limited information on what we should and shouldn't be doing. Okay, as time progressed, we began to find out who the vulnerable members of society were and who was at far less risk. The majority of society is at very limited risk, and thus we should be opening back up. We can't wait until we have 100% certainty that there will be no risk. There's not a world that exists where risks are eliminated. What we can do is decide what level of risk we're willing to take to go about our lives. Now, in my opinion, the role of government is simple. It's to protect your citizens and get as much information out as possible. So far, so good. We did a great job protecting the citizens as best we could, and we got the word out so that way we can make sure that people knew how to protect themselves. Okay, now it's time for government to get out of the way. Let people do what's necessary for them. According to the World Health Organization, they're actually saying that this will be far worse for poor and impoverished people. They're expecting a doubling of people living below the poverty line in the next year. A doubling. That means that lots of families are going to go bankrupt. Lots of medical procedures won't be done. Businesses will close down permanently. Restaurants will shutter. Services will shutter. The reason for this was simple. It was to slow the spread of a deadly virus. Great, we've done that. Now what is it you want? There doesn't seem to be a logical reason for us to be continually putting ourselves at risk and self-flagellating. We have nothing to gain from this. Everyone understands who makes the best decisions for themselves and their family. And how many of you would say that the person who makes the best decision for you is the government? I'll wait. Come on, think about it. Would you prefer to be making decisions on behalf of your life? Or do you prefer someone else who you've never met and never met you to make the decisions that affect your life? According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 10 people already has it. This is a virus that's been around for 9 months and 10% of the world population has had it. Okay, since we know this, we know who the vulnerable populations are, namely people with pre-existing conditions, people who are elderly, or people who are in nursing homes. Great, we know this. Now let's seek to protect them. If you're in one of the vulnerable demographics, maybe you should self-isolate, quarantine, make sure you're wearing a mask where you go, socially distance. These are things you would normally be told to do, even if you were just trying to protect from the flu. So we know this. Let's follow what's best for us. Stop letting bureaucrats and politicians decide what's best for your life. Do you think they're really going to give you what's best for your life? All this time, we've been told, wear a mask, socially distance. And for the most part, Americans have been doing it. However, we're told when the president has any kind of function where masks aren't worn and people aren't socially distanced, that it's a super spreader event. Conversely, if I want to go out for Antifa or BLM, burn, loot, murder, if you want to go out for one of their protests, their peaceful protests, quote unquote, then that doesn't cause a super spreader event. The problem is scientists and the doctors have politicized this to the point where we don't know who to trust. I trust myself. I trust my wife. I trust my family to make these decisions that are best for my family. As the World Health Organization said, lockdowns are a horrible idea. They're the worst case scenario, and they should not be used as a primary force of reduction of COVID cases or any type of pandemic. Again, this is the World Health Organization that has come out and said this. I'm not coming out and saying, get rid of masks, get rid of social distancing, but people need to be able to go back to work. People need to be able to interact with one another. People need to be able to accept what level of risk they are willing to accept and move about their lives freely. America was built on rugged exceptionalism and individualism. Why are we going to suddenly give up our ability to be individualistic and make decisions for ourselves? Who does that? Who is it that would prefer that every one of their decisions is dictated to them? I can't think of anyone that would even consider that. But yet, in the last 9 months, this is exactly what we've been doing. Destroying our economy, allowing BLM, again, burn, loot, murder, because wherever there's a BLM narrative, you typically see Antifa. And once the two get together, it's all about let's burn this down, let's loot, let's murder. I mean, from the Chop Chaz zone in Portland to last weekend, where you had the statues of Roosevelt and Lincoln being toppled and more riots ensued. Come on, people. We're really going to allow those people to dictate what we're going to do. Because right now, they have free reign. They have no restrictions on them. However, we're allowing the government to put restrictions on us as to where we can go, how we can go, and whether our businesses can open. This makes no sense. Lastly, remember, think for yourself. Not saying that the government is right or the government is wrong, but at some point, you have to be able to make the decision what's best for you and your family, and take it out of the hands of people that have never met you or your family. I was once told by someone that they cared as much about me and my family as I did. I said, really? You care as much about my children as me? They said, yes, I care as much about your children as you do. I said, great, what's their names? Now, how did I come up with that idea? I heard someone else did. So when confronted with that same situation, I did the same thing. They gave me a blank stare, like, what do you mean? I said, if you care about my children, what are their names? Because what they were doing was they wanted to shut down the argument and make sure that I would sit there and say, yes, I understand that you're so altruistic that you care as much about my children as I do. No, you don't. You don't care as much about my family as I do. That's why I volunteered to go to war for this country on behalf of protecting my family and all other families. So no, you don't care as much about my family as I do. But I possibly have shown that I care more about your family than you care about yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I post a new video. Feel free to comment on the video. Share the video. Corporal Randall, out.